Hello and welcome to the Passenger Seat Podcast, a podcast designed to fill your passenger seat with chat about classic cars, all recorded from my 1968 Morris Minor Peggy. I'm Becca and today I'm going to be giving you my NEC Resto Show report, all from the perspective of putting together the award-winning Women Drivers Social Club stand at the show. So, it's been a very busy few weeks for me, which is partly what fed into there not being a podcast last week, but also I've got something happening this weekend that I thought, let's get a podcast recorded with them for that. So watch this space next week for the podcast there. And so I thought, if I just knuckle down, get everything done, give myself a bit of breathing time before the Resto show, then you'll get much better stuff out from me, and also I can get on with all of the stuff that goes into it, because I've obviously been doing the November shows for some time now. I went to my very first November show in 2021 and then started organising stands in 2022. So it has been a lot of me getting used to the way that the November show works. But the thing with the March Restoration Show is that there is a lot more that can go into it if you decide to do a lot of the restoration side of things. It is labelled as the Restoration and Classic Car Show, but for me, what makes that show special is the amount of effort that stands can put into showing live restoration, showing live demonstrations, and really engaging the people that are walking around the show with that sort of thing. And so us getting a stand at the Restoration Show was actually first brought up, it must have been in November 2024, on our second time I think it is, of having a Women Drivers Social Club stand there. And unfortunately all the stands for the following March 2025 show were fully booked by the point that we showed kind of interest in having one. But we said, put us on the reserve list or let us know as soon as openings happen for 2026. We got ourselves booked in, and I always said that if the Women Drivers Social Clubs were doing a stand, then it was really important that we properly did a restoration stand. It's unfortunate that there is still an element of people making comments, disbelieving in women's interest in this topic and their capabilities within this area. And so I said that if we were doing it, we were doing it with a lot of work going on to really showcase that women can and love doing this sort of stuff. Because I thought if we turned up and put kind of 4 cars on a stand and sat behind them, like some stands do at this show, then there would be endless comments about women not being able to do the things that we know that they are able to do. So it was always in the back of my mind that if we were doing it, we were doing it properly. And so prep really started in December, when I started reaching out to a couple of people who had expressed interest in having stuff on the stand, and then carried on through till January. Started getting a team essentially together of people that were either bringing cars or willing and able to work on the cars that were being brought alongside their owners. And we ended up with a lineup of Claire Atkinson Associates A30 that was having its old engine and gearbox taken out, a new gearbox being rebuilt at the show, and a new engine and gearbox going into it. So a lot of heavy mechanical stuff going on there. We had Katie's Lomax that we were all really keen to help her get on with as a project, because it's one that she would love to bring to the Bedford show at some point, because it's perfect for that sort of quirky vehicle. And so she brought that along, and we did she did a big bore refit, some new filters, some new pipe work, and basically rebuilt the engine area because the body is currently off, and she thought might as well get it done while the body's off before I put the new body on and there'd be a problem down the road. We had Lila, Isabel and Sarah who were working on Lila's Porsche. Lila is 15 and has got this Porsche as a car that she wants to have as her first proper car once she's passed her test. It needs lots of work going into it, but it's meaning that she can make it exactly what she wants. So there was all sorts of stuff going on with that. There was kind of electrical overhaul, getting all of the bodged wiring that people have put into that over the years out, and sorting out, making sure that all the dials work and do as expected and come together, look how she wants it to do. She was doing a load of kind of creative work on the dashboard and painting up things that she wanted to customize for the inside, and also a new steering wheel cover, so patterning that out and working on that and making it fit the new steering wheel. Loads of stuff going on into that. And then we had Luigi, the Fiat 500 that belonged to Claire and Mush, that was having a brand new interior fitted that Mush had worked on and completely designed herself, and then also a load of other bits and pieces fitted to the interior to really start to make that car come together. There are still a few bits and pieces that need doing to it, but the hope is that that car will, that has been a project for some time, actually be able to get out. So that was all our big cars, but then I thought, well, what else can we squeeze onto this stand? Bearing in mind this stand was under 80 square meters. I think it was something like 6 meters by 11 meters as a stand. We've got 4 cars on there all being worked on, and the tricky thing that I found about planning this stand is that with the November show you are planning for a car. With this show you were having to guesstimate the location of stuff based on, okay, is there an engine crane coming for the engine swap, is there toolboxes coming, is there what's the size of the toolboxes, is there workbenches needed, how are we making this all kind of come together? And so really a lot of people think, oh, it's great to take your car to the resto show because you get kind of 3 days working on this car undercover, dry, warm, with space. And I kind of took that last one a little bit away from our team, in the fact that I think most of them had just about as much space as they would have in a large garage, rather than any more additional space. So it was already packed in. But then Amanda has also in recent years started doing restoration work on tiny little model cars and also kids automotive toys for her grandson. And so we said, what if we set you up basically like a Santa's elf station where you work on some toys? And from that stemmed this idea for me of getting a kind of ride-on car that was toddler sized, that we then tried to convert into looking like the car that is on the club's logo, with the use of kind of 3D printing and things like that. And so as well as doing all of the paperwork for all of the risk assessment that all of these jobs would involve, we were trying to, in the last few days before the show, desperately filler, sand, filler, primer, sand down this shell that my friend had printed, so that it was ready for being kind of hand painted at the show by Amanda. And so that had lots of little elements as well whilst we were at the show, of kind of getting the headlights done and the trunk done and having the primer all go on and the wheels come off and it all get painted together. So there was lots of stuff mechanically going on our stand. Then we had like our merchandise that we always have, as well as I thought that this is the sort of show where we might well get because it's smaller, it's more achievable in a day, so you're more likely to get families, I feel, going around, because it's that little bit cheaper, it's a little bit more achievable for doing in a day. And so some of the stuff that we'd done with West, the Women in Engineering, Science and Technologies, the charity that we spoke about with Roz from Gwenda's Garage a few weeks ago, we'd reached out to them, and obviously when I met up with Roz, picked up some stuff about them and their work, and got some workbooks off of them to hand out to people who had kids or were with kids. We had a colouring sheet of our new design that we were handing out, basically trying to do as much as we could to show that we were here, we were working really hard, we were proving to people that perhaps were a little bit doubtful about women's interest in this topic that there definitely is, but also trying to show young people that there is a space for women in these car clubs and the car scene, and that there can be these beautiful moments of friendship between people who are interested in automotive, working together and achieving so much. So each of the cars had a big list that we wrote out, kind of taking inspiration from Tasha's idea last year with the young members, of what they were hoping to achieve over the weekend, and every single car ticked off every single thing on its list. I think the last person to tick something off was Amanda at about 3:30 on Sunday, when she finally finished her little model cars that she'd brought along to finish, as well as a scooter and obviously the club car model. But we really packed stuff into that stand. It was definitely a tighter space than we'd usually have kind of towards the end for people to sit in and have breaks, because a lot of people were just cracking on with getting their jobs done and talking to people and telling them kind of what we were about. We did really well in terms of membership and people showing an interest. We went up kind of 30 members on the Facebook group, and I know that we're quite a low commitment in terms of it's join a Facebook group. It's not a paid membership or anything like that, but for a club that has been going to the November show for 3 shows now, for us to be able to say actually what we've done is still pick up 30 new people that didn't necessarily knew that we existed before this point has been fantastic. And yet we were in Hall 4 in a nice kind of central location. We had lots of people going past, talking to us, showing interest in what all of the cars were doing. On, I think it must have been Saturday, we had this little girl go past. Well, actually, she came up to me, and she must have been 6 or 7. She said, someone told me that if I came up to you and asked, you'd be able to show me around all the cars. So I showed her around all of the cars on the stand, and she was asking these most fantastic questions, and it was just a really tangible experience of us being there, having an impact on somebody who might not have otherwise been able to see themselves at that show, which was really lovely. Now, obviously, I did get the opportunity to go off and have a little bit of a wander myself around the show at points. The auto jumble, as usual, was really good and incredibly helpful for picking up those last minute bits that we realised that we needed on some of the projects, and also getting a few fun bits as well. I got a really cool cars model of Doc Hudson to add to my collection of those that's growing. There was also on the Sealy stand these very cool miniature toolboxes that I believe might have gone up for my birthday in a few weeks, which I'm hoping to, in true lady fashion, see if I can turn it into a really cool handbag, because it's really like a desk accessory or something like that, but I think it'd make a really fancy kind of hard shell handbag, so that'll be a fun little project to do at some point. Walking around the halls, we saw some really fantastic stuff going on quite a lot of stands. things that really stood out to me was the beautiful Royal Mail van on the Canterbury Convertibles stand. Always a fantastic showing on Mark's stand, and that really caught my eye because you guys know how much I love Post and my Post vehicles, and had its rubber wings on, which is always a really rare thing to see, and beautifully put together. In Hall 5, as I was leaving on one of the days, I saw at the corner of my eye something that looked really familiar, and I went over and had a proper look at it, and realised that it was a 1935 single-le-Mans 4-seater, and couldn't believe it that there was one of them in the halls, because that's obviously the car that is in our club logo and that my dad owns. And we actually found out who owned it, and they've joined the Women Drivers Social Club, which is amazing. And it was in such a kind of really original feeling condition, like not super restored and things like that, just looked and felt really lovely, and like it will be fun to just get out and use and enjoy. And I really hope that they do, because they've only recently purchased it. Also nearby there was another Singer, Paul's Singer Gazelle from ADO Restorations, an iDriver Classic. A really lovely, again, original example of a Singer. And I think that is the thing that everyone says about this show. It's not just your really shiny, lovely examples of cars. Even if a stand doesn't have active restorations on, they will often pick out those more unusual cars that are either really original or showing patina, showing age, that just feel quite interesting to look at, to photograph, to film, whatever it is that you're going to the show for. They're fantastic for that. The Scimitar and Sabre Owners Club had a really cool silver Sabre that looked like it was kind of a brushed metal, and I didn't really get to ask any questions about it, but yeah, it looked like it was a brushed metal, but obviously they are a fiberglass car. So really fascinating to see that and have a look around that. A really cool Fraser Nash that was on Auto Anonymous's stand, that has been a project for 50 years and looks like it's really not too far off being finished, but hopefully we'll get that push from having been at the show to finally getting it back out on the road and enjoying it. Because when projects have been, I think it was 50 odd years, when projects have been dragging on that long, it can feel like the end is never in sight. So hopefully having the public kind of coming and talking to them, including myself, they've been tempted to get a little bit more progress done with that. What else? The Morris Minor Owners Club was right next to us, and it was kind of strange that I was constantly kind of going past it, but they had the last known original, never been kind of used body shell that has been stored up in Derby, and I'd seen it loads when I was on the committee and it was up there kind of thing, and they've turned it into a rolling shell using some of the parts from a cutaway car that BMC used for displays and things like that in period, to be able to use it as an example to people who are looking to do restorations on their cars, and getting the details as it was when it left the factory, because it's totally untouched, and other than the now fitting of kind of the parts to make it rollable for getting it to National this year. They also had several other really interesting vehicles. Andrew Stone, the chairman's Army Traveller that he's working on restoring, a saloon that started life as a convertible. A lot of people accidentally buy convertibles that were converted from a saloon, but this is a thing that started its life as a saloon but later became a convertible. And Bradley's Traveller that he basically got for 30 quid recently, and has got to kind of decide how he's going about restoring that, when it's been off the road for so long that it had like ginger ale in it from 1970 something. So yeah, a really, really interesting lineup with their stand as well. There was a beautiful ice cream van on the Jowett Club stand that just like so beautifully worn and presented, and it's something that they have properly digitally captured as it is before they restore it, so that they can make it look how it would have done beforehand and get all of that sign writing and things like that properly replicated on it. Of course, the barn find section at this show is always fantastic to see, and to see how far the little bits of hay managed to creep their way across the halls. Yeah, so much to see at this show. I mean, it is 3 halls, so far more manageable to do in just a day if you're just going across for the day. But for interesting stuff and actually having the time to talk and catch up with people, it was really good, and absolutely thrilled to have been able to explore that in the brief periods that I managed to get off of the stand. Because I spent a lot of time on the stand talking to people, talking and explaining kind of what we were doing, what we were about, what we were supporting, and it was great to have such a broad amount of interest and have so many positive comments from people who had never seen us before or hadn't noticed us before. I think because the show is much more manageable, if you do a really good stand, which I think for the past 2 years definitely we've tried quite hard to do a really good stand, but I think with this year in particular, because it's the Resto show, it's smaller, those really good stands do start to stand out a bit more, and I think we'd managed to do a pretty decent job of that, which it so happened the judges thought too, because we were told that it'd probably be a good idea if we were over by the stage for the awards, which happened at 4 o'clock on Saturday. And so we headed over, and the National Car Club Awards covers all sorts of stuff. It covers obviously the displays that are happening at the show, so best stand both large and small, best live working, best live demonstration, and stuff like that. But then also covers more broadly things to do with classic car clubs contributing to the classic car scene. So it does things like best event for the year, people that are industry leads within the classic car club industry, people that are car club heroes, all sorts of other stuff as well. So there was a broad range of awards going on, and it was fantastic to see initiatives like Sporting Bears being rewarded for finally reaching 4 million in their fundraising goals. Individuals who have worked really hard within car clubs for many years to keep whatever it is that they are supporting alive, going, and growing interest. A lot of discussion about supporting the next generation as an award. So lots of fantastic things being recognised with it, and we went over and, as you've perhaps seen on my social media and other parts of Classic Car Press, we walked over kind of in our overalls, which were 2 different patterns but kind of matching, and it really made quite an interesting thing to see walking through the halls, I think, as we all kind of strode through in our matching outfits over to the stage in Hall 5. My sister saw some photos of it and was like, you guys look a little bit like a militia walking through the halls. But we were colourful, we were bright, we were who we wanted to be, which I think was really fun. And got over to the stage and were incredibly surprised to find that we had won best small stand, so a stand under 80 square meters in show, and so much of what we had going on got mentioned in the reasons why we won. Our matching overalls, the amount of work we had crammed on, the attempt to interest younger people in what we were doing by having the stuff like the toys being worked on, the highlighting charities for women looking to work in the industry. Loads of it got mentioned, which was absolutely fantastic. And we walked away with this beautiful bit of glassware. I'm going to move it about a little bit if you're watching on YouTube, because it's quite difficult to photograph these beautiful glass trophies, as we found throughout the weekend, as many people came over to photograph us for various bits of press and interview us for various YouTube videos and social media things and stuff like that. So quite tricky to photograph, but we did spot on the Sunday that the Citroen Car Club, who won best live demonstrations for a DS doing its up and down thing, and explaining how all that worked, had got a really nice setup of putting a flat torch underneath it. So if you think you're in with a chance of winning something in future years, find yourself a flat work torch, something like this, and you can take a nice photo with your trophy then on. And yeah, we had a fantastic time with everyone down at the stage. We all got up on the stage and looked really cool in our outfits, collecting our trophy, then kind of went off to the stage and then got a group photo with all the other winners. One of the other winners was the Morris Minor Owners Club, which was amazing to see. They won Car Club of the Year, which is fantastic. It's their 50th year this year, and for them to be rewarded for all of the work that they've done over the years in keeping Morris Minors going, supporting the owners, etc., etc., was absolutely brilliant. And so great to see them all up on stage as well. So a really nice thing to kind of get us to halfway through the weekend. We all went out and had a lovely meal together on the Saturday evening to celebrate before we all went home, absolutely knackered to have to try and get through the next day, and carried on working the next day because we still had so much to do and get done on our lists. It was absolutely amazing to see how hard everyone was working on getting the things done. I think it was such a good motivation for people to be working hard on their cars. And then it got to kind of 4:30, and I said, does anyone actually have a horn that works for the end of the show? And nobody did. The electrics in the Porsche being all ripped out and things like that, and then being put back in, meant that the horn and the electrics weren't fully connected up, because they didn't want to do that without being able to test things, and you have to have your batteries disconnected. Luigi, the little Fiat 500, hadn't had its electrics dealt with just yet. What was there of the Lomax most certainly did not have a horn, and neither did the A30. So a group of us all just stood there shouting honk at the end of the show, which was a really fun and unserious way to just wrap up what was an absolutely brilliant weekend. Then it came down to breakdown, and we had 4 cars that we had to get onto trailers and get out of the halls, because everything had to be out of hall 4 before 10 o'clock. I think we got out of there at 8 o'clock, which, considering show closed at 5 and we weren't allowed trailers in until after 6 o'clock, we did pretty well on that front to get everything out, down, and sorted. I had to concede defeat in getting everything into the Kia. I'd gone up with an absolutely loaded Kia because there was no chance I was getting everything in Peggy, as spacious as she is, and it was just going to be a bit risky for her interior. So I'd gone up with an absolutely loaded Kia, but also at International Women's Day had given Tash a load of stuff that she ended up bringing along. And so at the end of it, we were just a bit like, I don't think this is all going to fit in the Kia. So bless it, Amanda, who was passing ours-ish on the way home. So on Monday, she came and dropped a load of stuff off on her way home that she'd popped into her van because the Kia was packed to the rims, but still not able to take absolutely everything and me and Jamie home. But yeah, an amazing weekend, something I'm sure we'll all remember for a very long time, and just an incredible first show. And I'm really looking forward to what we do next year. A lot of the people who have been absolutely exhausted by working all weekend on their cars said to me on Sunday, this was amazing, but please don't pick me next year. So if you're a Women Drivers Social Club member and you're looking to do the Resto show next year, perhaps start talking to me soon about what you think you'd like to do, because all of this paperwork is non-stop. So you finish one and start for the November show, and so on and so on and so on. So lots to look forward to there. And of course, with the Women Drivers Social Club, we'll be keeping up the momentum and keeping our overalls on with our workshop weekend that will be happening at the beginning of June. So again, if you're a member, look out for the details on that. And I think that really nicely wraps up our Resto show experience. It's been amazing, exhausting, but so worthwhile. And another moment for the trophy. Shall I get the torch that I definitely don't have in here for that out to see if that better shows up on. Ooh, look at that, how beautiful. Thank you to every single one of the women that was working on the stand doing all the hard work over the weekend, and to those who let me occasionally help out and took the photos of me occasionally helping out with them. And thank you to all of the people that came across to the stand and said hello if you were an old member and excited to see what we were up to, or if you were a new person who is now joining us and looking forward to everything that we get up to. And in the meantime, thank you ever so much for listening, if you're someone listening and supporting from home, and drive safely and happy motoring.